Tonight on Newsline, there could be some layoffs in store for Northwestern Bell employees.
Black Hills Power and Light Company had some encouraging news today.
And a report on cable TV pirating. That next on Newsline, Friday the 13th.
And good evening. Northwestern Bell has announced another change in its business structure since the breakup of AT&T. 32 resident sales and billing service representatives will have to make a decision about their jobs. Northwestern Bell is phasing out those jobs, partly because they're going to mechanized billing and partly because they no longer deal with phones and equipment. Northwestern Bell Public Relations Representative Dick Finney says that the 32 employees can keep their jobs if they are willing to move. If the employees want to stay in the Rapid City area, the company will try to locate them within the business. If that isn't possible, it means layoffs. The resident sales and billing service operation will be closed down on July 13th.
Well, there may be some good news for many phone buyers as a result of a Newsline report yesterday. Reporter Sally Barton told you the story of Doug Myron. He bought a phone from Northwestern Bell in 1980, and he thought he was buying the entire piece of equipment. But it turns out now that he only owns the shell of the phone. Northwestern Bell owns the inside. He was told he'd have to pay more to get the parts that make it work. Well, Congressman Tom Daschle's office says it's received a lot of calls as a result of that story. It says it will contact the Federal Communications Commission to see if anything can be done for people like Doug. As we told you yesterday, those of you buying phones now are not affected. The latest complaints surround phone purchases made prior to November 1980.
With the Royals, and they said they will agree to such a deal, and Palmer has the right to say no to any deal until the June 15th trading deadline. Well, the Texas Rangers owner, Eddie Childs, said today that he has no immediate plans for his ball club, but that he is setting some kind of goals, and the first of those goals will hopefully be met by the All-Star break, but changes will not be based on the club's record at that time. Childs says there is no magic formula for a winning team, and that firing people will not help either. But he says that the Rangers will just have to dig themselves out of a hole. Well, Bill Buckner of the Cubs was not in uniform tonight for the Cubs game.
Pitchers Marathon Telethon, live Friday night 8 to 10 on these channels.
Friend. So look at Newsline for this hour. That is Jerry DeShong. Would you cut? There you go. Gorilla at Large coming up, I guess.
I'll be watching it tomorrow night, Friday night.
Friday night, right?
Got my glasses.
Got him at the mini mart. Help Jerry's. That's wonderful. Jerry's kids? Which? Oh no. We'll be back at 10 o'clock. Good night.
A best in entertainment.
Grace of Monaco. Grace Kelly died today in Monte Carlo of injuries suffered in a fiery car crash yesterday. She was 52 years old. Excuse me. Palace spokesman said that the princess died of a cerebral hemorrhage. It was an unlikely ending for the storybook life of Grace Kelly, the daughter of a prominent and wealthy Philadelphian, a movie star, and a princess. We'll have more on her life story later in this program. 4 more bodies were found today in the crash of that charter DC-10 that crashed in Malaga.
Well, good evening, everyone. National championship hopes go brighter for the Huskers with losses by top-ranked Pitt and 4th-ranked Arkansas. The Huskers find themselves in this week's third in this week's top 20. As we take a look at those ratings, you'll see that Georgia is the top-ranked team in the nation, followed by Southern Methodist. Nebraska's number 3. Okay. Back To the ratings now, Penn State 4, Louisiana State is number 5, followed by Washington. Pitt drops to number 7 after their loss. Florida State is number 8, followed by Arkansas at number 9. And Clemson is number 10. This week, the second 10 looked like this. Oklahoma looking for that game with Nebraska on November 26th. They're up to number 11. Michigan, number 12. UCLA drops after their loss to Washington. Notre Dame makes their move after they upset top-ranked Pitt, followed by Alabama, Maryland.
Mid-30s to mid-40s. Currently in Scottsbluff, skies are clear. The temperature is 25 degrees. Winds are northwest at 6 miles per hour. Relative humidity is 65%, and the barometer is 30.21. I'm sorry, Dan.
Here you go. Have a little water. We'll be back to you later. Thank you, Marie. Well, an old proposal for relocating Chadron, City Hall has surfaced again, and new signs.
Chadron City Hall is a prominent site on the town's main street, but it is
particularly to youngsters that are going Christmas shopping. The day your coach.
commercial says, you either pay me now or you pay me later. In Chadron, this is Richard Rose reporting for Newsline.
Yep, we're back. Okay, let's start out. Good week so far, Jeff, yes. For basketball. Dud of a game, though, tonight.
Well,
matter of opinion.
Matter of opinion on that, but it was supposed to be a very close game. Scottsbluff wins by 26. You make your own opinion on that one. I would call that one just a little bit of a dud. As far as the way it was billed, it was supposed to be a big game, and Scottsbluff leads all the way through. They win by 26. We'll take a look at it anyway.
Okay, we'll be right back. When we come back, Jeff Kelly will have all the sports.
Join us for Newsline Update next, right here on Channel 4.
You're watching TV 10 KSTF Scottsbluff.
From Channel 10, this is the 10 Report. The 10 Report with news, weather, and sports.
Good evening. In our news tonight, 22, count them, 22 different excuses were presented to the Scottsbluff County Board of Commissioners for various pleas. In fact, they started all the way a plea for mercy, and this was from nonprofit organizations. A plea for mercy, they begged the commissioners' forgiveness, and the list went on. Well, the reasons, of course, that things were just overlooked, or plain forgotten about, or people did not send in the request form for 1 year of tax-exempt status in Scottsbluff County. Of course, this will, quote, never happen again. That's another comment that was made many times today by people appearing before the board. And guess who came out on top? Well, the ones pleading for mercy. The board allowed the varying organizations to be tax-exempt for this 1 year, and there were others that have not filed for tax-exempt status. Well, the deadline set by state law is December 30th.
February 3rd is the court date set for two local 19-year-old youths accused of writing over $750 worth of forged checks. Scottsbluff police arrested Kevin Rosiska of Scottsbluff and Lynette Albar of Gearing for allegedly stealing checks from a local teachers organization and then cashing them at an area grocery store. Both were arrested and released today on a promise to appear in court February 3rd. In other news, the Gearing School Board will hold their regular meeting tonight starting at 7:30. Included on the agenda is the review and discussion of bills that have taken effect or may be taking effect sometime soon. Example of these bills that may take effect are Senator Vickers' bill, which resulted from the Excellence on Education report. That bill suggests that school years consist of 1,080 hours, which is 180 days. Another bill introduced by Senator Pappas suggests that the lid bill be cut from 7% to 5%. Also tonight, there'll be an update on cold weather facility damages, and progress toward making necessary repairs will also be discussed. An estimated $37,000 worth of damages has been done to Gearing schools from the bad weather.
Scottsbluff area will soon be seeing a new type of road and driving program. It's aimed at reducing traffic accidents and other major problems on certain identified trouble spots. Nebraska State Trooper Terry Livengood tells us about the operation Policing by Objectives.
Program that was started in the eastern part of the state
has finally filtered out to this area. First of all, an area is identified as a high traffic area with a large amount of accidents, or an area that's having a lot of alcohol problems is identified as being a problem area, and then a team goes into that area to help rectify the problem. Now, we try through news media coverage to educate the people that there is a problem area, and their help is one of the biggest contributors that we have to this program.
And what about some of the local areas that have already been worked on with this policing by objectives?
Last fall, the areas that were identified as being a problem area were Highway 30 east of Sydney and also Highway 71 north of Kimball. We ran this PBO program on that particular stretch of road on both of them for a quarter. The results were fantastic. East of Sydney on Highway 30, the accident rate was dropped by 66% for that quarter compared to a year ago. On Highway 71 north of Kimball, the accident rate was dropped by 75% on that particular stretch of road compared to a year ago.
Nebraska recorded an overall drop of 7% in crime in 1982. The conclusion is contained in a report from the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice. The report noted a 3% decrease in arrests for such offenses as murder, manslaughter, rape, robbery, larceny, theft, and arson. Nebraska experienced a 7% increase for such offenses as misdemeanor assault, forgery, drunk driving, and disorderly conduct. Violent crimes such as murder and assault accounted for 5.8% of offenses in 1982. Assaults on law enforcement officers decreased by 8%, falling to 366. There were 53,200...
Good evening. Coming up next on Newsline, more testimony was heard in the state Supreme Court today for the impeachment trial of our state attorney general. The Monument Mall here in Scottsbluff has been put on hold, and the turnaround for the Sunset Memorial Park is part of a bigger plan for the future.
We could still see a few snow showers yet this evening, maybe tomorrow, but I think Thursday and Friday should be much nicer. There is another chance for some precipitation on Sunday.
In sports tonight, a trade involving some well-known players in Major League Baseball. I'll tell you who's involved. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame win a big NIT semifinal game. You'll see the highlights. And they're getting things in shape for the car racing season at Oregon Trail Raceway.
All this and more is just ahead on Newsline. We hope you can join us.
We're the great American shoe store. Jimmy's got you in mind. We're the great American shoe store. Know your one your Jimmy's going all out for style that's always brand new. We're the great American shoe store for great Americans like you. We're the great American shoe store.
With a long-standing commitment to broadcast journalism, this is KDUH-TV4, home of Newsline.
Good evening. This is Newsline. I'm Tom MacArthur. Former State Banking Director Paul Amon says he did not recommend or try to postpone criminal prosecutions in problems with the state's financial industry. Amon testified today at the impeachment trial of Attorney General Paul Douglas. Douglas is charged in part with failing to investigate illegal insider loans at Commonwealth Savings in Lincoln, which was declared insolvent in November of last year. Amon, whose forced resignation came after the insolvency, says he approached Douglas's office last spring about critical problems in the state's industrial savings industry. He says he did not share all of the banking department's records on the subject with the Attorney General's office and did not ask Douglas to investigate the matter or prosecute anyone. The Scottsbluff City Council last night, by a unanimous vote, refused to call the land earmarked for the Monument Mall a blighted area and thus made the project ineligible for state-subsidized financing. Scottsbluff City Manager Frank Kohler explained why the developer, Dial Enterprises of Omaha, requested that the land be classified as blighted.
The designation of blighted is necessary if they're going to obtain funding through the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. The benefit of doing that is that they can borrow their money through the private money market, but at a rate about 2 to 3% lower than if they go through the normal market procedures.
The area under consideration as the site for the Monument Mall is this open agricultural field here in Scottsbluff, adjacent to Highway 26. Kohler says the council listened to the arguments of the developer and of businesses currently serving the area and came to the conclusion that this land is not blighted and therefore is not eligible for the state subsidized funding. Kohler says the council is not against the Monument Mall, they're just against funding it in this way.
The majority of the council members in their discussion last night made the specific point that they see the need for increased retail capacity and that they supported the development of a center at that location. And of course it hasn't been too long ago that the council voted to rezone that property so the shopping center could be built there.
Kohler says we'll just have to wait and see what will happen to the Monument Mall project from here. Sarpy County Public Defender James Miller says he may have a third psychiatrist examine John Joubert. The 20-year-old airman is charged with abducting and killing 2 Sarpy County boys last year. Miller says he will confer with the second psychiatrist before deciding whether or not he wants a third to examine Joubert. Miller says Omaha psychiatrist Clayton Pettipies examined Joubert in the last week. A reply was drafted to Governor Bob Kerrey by Mazda officials in Japan today. The reply apparently tells Kerrey it would be premature for him to visit the company in Japan to promote Nebraska as a site for a new Mazda automobile plant. Kerrey sent a message to the company yesterday offering to make the trip if he could be of any help. Nebraska, South Carolina, and Detroit are being considered as possible sites for that plant. Kerrey said if Nebraska is chosen as the site, the plant would most likely be built in the city of Omaha. These days, Sunset Memorial Park is neat, clean, and groomed. There's little comparison to its neglected and unkempt condition many months ago. And as Newsline's Marie Burgess reports tonight, the turnaround is just part of a bigger plan for the cemetery's future.
The Sunset Memorial Garden Cemetery has come a long ways the past year or so, from an overgrown, weed-infested eyesore to a once again orderly and groomed memorial park. That's thanks to a new association and board of trustees who rescued the cemetery following a period of ill management which resulted in the prior rundown condition of the grounds. Association spokesman John Brem says things are starting to get straightened out. Funds that were in a trust and alliance have been transferred to a Scottsbluff bank, while negotiations for transfer of a trust fund in Denver are almost finalized. Additionally, Brem has this piece of good news.
Another development we hope is going to come to pass is I think there's a company or a firm which is interested in taking over Sunset Memorial Park and and hopefully maybe even the mausoleum, and then they'd be better able to for the management and the maintenance and stuff like this.
Brem says a decision will be announced sometime toward the end of this month or the first part of April. If the company should decide to take over management and maintenance of the cemetery, it must work with a local board of trustees composed of plot owners, business people, and others. Brem says this is to prevent what happened in the past.
And in this way here, there'll be some local controls put on it. Like if you have a board of trustees and it's made up like it was before, the family of the people that are running it, that's not going to work. You have to have some people that aren't involved with the company itself.
An association meeting will be held this Thursday evening at the VFW Hall in Gering. Brem encourages all plot owners and other interested people to attend. Marie Burgess, Newsline.
Jerry DeShong is back now to talk weather. A little bit of snow today. Do we get more tomorrow?
If we do, it won't amount to much. I think we're on the mend once again, warming up on Thursday, Friday, another system off the coast, maybe on Sunday. They are catching it to the south, so there was a storm, but it missed us.
That's good. We'll be back and take a look at weather right after this. Good evening with Newsline. I'm Tom MacArthur. A Burlington Northern train derailed today between Broadway and the 20th Street crossing here in Scottsbluff. Derailment occurred about 5:50 this morning and involved some 21 cars. Most of them, as you see here, were carrying coal. Burlington Northern had the track cleared by this afternoon and hopes to continue rail traffic through the area sometime after midnight tonight. Assistant Superintendent for Transportation with Burlington Northern, Cal Evans, says no one was injured in the accident, but he says that's the only good news from today.
And we're looking at something here that's very expensive for the industry. And, of course, we want to do everything that we can to avoid this kind of thing. We're looking at someplace close to $500,000 damage to equipment at track, and that doesn't include the cost of trying to restore things back to where we can operate trains again.
Evans says the final cost of the derailment will be much higher than the $500,000 after they figure in the cost of train delays and other related expenses. The cause of the accident has not yet been determined. Well, today is, after all, Valentine's Day, and there are as many ways to celebrate it as there are Valentine cards. The Scottsbluff Senior JC celebrated the day in style today. They held a coronation with real capes and real crowns. This is where it all happened. From the outside, you wouldn't expect it to be a place where royalty could be found. But that's exactly what we found here today. A little after lunch today, two names were drawn from a hat and given the official title of Valentine King and Valentine Queen. How does it feel to be suddenly thrust into the spotlight of royal fame? This is the first time you've been chosen Queen for Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
How does it feel to be king for today?
I didn't know they were pulling this on me.
Big surprise.
Or I'd have been home.
It was only for a day, and the royalty had no real power, but the Queen told me her first order of business would be to paint the town red. That's fitting, I guess. As the coronation ceremony came to an end, the music drifted out of the building, and the words were caught by the wind. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Till next year, may the sentiment hold ever always true. Happy Valentine's Day. Play very well, thank you. Our congratulations to Henry Mueller and Alice Carter, his and her Royal Majesty.
Nice piece.
Thanks.
It was. Valentine's Day, nice for the most part, I think. Indeed, a day for sweethearts. But tonight, I don't think so. We have Stockman's advisories. It's raining now and here and in Chadron, so weather's a change.
We'll see what the details are right after this. Stay with us. Well, today is February 29th, a day that gets printed on the calendar only 1 out of every 4 years. That's because this is a leap year, a year when the moon and the calendar have a chance to catch up with each other. The problem with a leap year, though, is that people born on the 29th of February only have a birthday every 4 years. And it's your birthday today? Is that right? So how old are you today?
I'm 8, but I'm really going to be 2.
And how does that work?
Well, I don't really know.
Celestina is one of those rare people who was born on February 29th, and so only has a birthday every 4 years. So that you're really 2 years, or you're 8 years, or...
I'm only 2.
You're only 2. How do you decide what day your birthday is each year?
Well, sometimes I just... Well, I don't know that either.
Having a birthday on February 29th is odd enough, but the mathematical odds of finding a grandparent and a grandchild who were born on this day are rather astounding. But we found a pair. How do you figure out how old you are?
I really don't know.
This is Elizabeth's grandmother, one person in 2 million who shares a leap year birthday with her granddaughter. How do you work it with birthdays this way, that they're 4 years?
We just celebrate them together, and when it's leap year, it's just sort of a special day. It's a little bigger day than usual.
And of course, a birthday would not be complete without singing that special song.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Celestina. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to Celestina, Elizabeth, and Dorothy, and to you too, if you're a leap year baby. Well, Jerry, is this weather a good birthday present for a lot of people?
Nice weather for a birthday. Tomorrow more of the same. Now, yesterday, you remember I had hinted about a nice weekend, and I'm going to have to back off a little bit. The Weather Service says perhaps some moisture.
That's not the kind of change of mind I wanted.
Swing on it.
We'll be right back with weather right after this. Well, springtime will soon be upon us, next Tuesday to be exact. And what better thing to do on a lazy springtime afternoon than go and fly a kite? Ah, yes, springtime breezes and brightly colored kites. Put the two together and you've got quite a show. March is traditionally the month to fly kites, and lest we get carried away, Line Superintendent for Nebraska Public Power, Leo Heineman, offered us some pointers on kite safety.
Well, my pointer would be flying a well-open area, not close to any power lines like we have here. In our background is our Fifth Avenue substation. Make sure your kite is not constructed with some metal in it, or even with model airplanes, this type thing. A lot of strings sometimes have a little metal extra strength in them, which is a hazardous condition, but be in plenty of open area where won't be involved in the power lines or substations.
If you do get your kite caught in a power line somewhere, what's the best thing to do?
Well, my suggestion would be the best thing to do, just leave it, not even pull on the string, which would probably cause getting the conductors together. If the string is strong, it wouldn't break. I would just leave it and probably call the power company office.
So the best advice is, by all means, fly your kite, but be careful. You want to be able to fly it next year, too. That was a lot of fun, and believe it or not, that's the first time I've ever flown a kite.
An admirable first effort there. I think you must have reached 40 feet anyway.
At least.
Wind for the first time in weeks. The problem, not too much, but a lack of, is actually a very pleasant afternoon for kite flying or just taking it easy. Weather Service still insists we're going to have a little bit of moisture and cooler tomorrow, then decreasing cloudiness on Saturday.
We'll see. Thanks, Jerry. We'll be right back with weather right after this. And that is all from KDUH at this time. Thank you for watching.
Kite flying or just taking it easy. Weather Service still insists we're going to have a little bit of moisture and cooler tomorrow, then decreasing cloudiness on Saturday.
We'll see. Thanks, Jerry. We'll be right back with weather right after this. And that is all from KDUH at this time. Thank you for watching.